got as much snow as you, but yeah, you also played. I think since last time, you also played Callisto Protocol, didn't you?
I did play Callisto Protocol. And
that might have been before the last podcast. I don't remember when that come out.
No, he said he was gonna play it after the podcast.
Oh,
when
yeah,
we're talking.
perfect. All right,
I
Jared.
think right.
Yeah, I think so. What do we think about Callisto Protocol?
This is all you need to know. If they added a dodge button, the game would be good. That's it. Add a dodge button, and it's a 10 out of 10 experience. But
Really?
fighting more than one enemy at a time, there's no way to dodge. You have to stare at the enemy and dodge that enemy. You can't dodge multiple enemies. So fighting is atrocious in the game. If it's not 1v1. If it's 1v1, it's a really good game. And that's pretty much it. That sums up the game. It doesn't matter it looks good. Doesn't matter it has good acting and facial animations, because the gameplay just sucks when fighting multiple enemies.
Yeah, that's
Did they ever fix the performance issues? 'Cause I know at launch it had a lot of stuttering.
Yeah, they released the patch.
Because of
it's way better.
Okay.
Way better now. At least on
user ratings were
console,
tanking
on
because of
PS5
that.
and Series X. Yeah, PC was bad.
Yeah,
does it scratch the the Dead Space itch?
Dead Space? I can't comment on that because I've never played Dead Space.
Okay.
Oh,
I heard
shit.
From what I've seen, it
Yeah,
looks like if they can make Dead Space without having to worry about copyright. Is what I've got the impression I've gotten from that game.
That's what I really wanted it to be, but it didn't. I like Dead Space a lot, but then I didn't pick it up because of all this fucking dodge mechanic and combat shit. Because Dead Space had a good, it was different. I don't know. Dead Space was the whole limp stuff, right? You should have a limp, and the enemy had slowed down, and that was a big part of how you play the game, and that would affect your decision making and stuff. So I don't know. That's completely gone, and now it's some melee game. If I want to play Street Fighter, I'll fucking play Street Fighter. What the
fuck? Yeah, fair enough. No, I think it's kind of a disappointment because I think people were hoping for this game to be really good. So it kind of stinks. It was a little bit underwhelming. Yeah. When does the Dead Space remake come out? It's soon-ish, isn't it?
29th.
Really, the 29th
January 20th. No, January 29th.
I was like, hold up.
Yeah, I think so. I saw something that went gold and was ready. I thought it was 29th.
Was the first Dead Space co-op?
No,
that was the
only Dead Space 3.
That was the worst one.
Oh, okay.
That was wait, that's not not even worse. That's abysmal.
Wait, what's the worst one?
Yeah,
3.
Dead Space 3.
That's the only one that I've played.
That's a cool one.
That's the only one that I've played.
That's not the same video game. That's some fucking I don't know, dude. That's some fucking crackhead LSD fever dream.
I do so terrible on horror games. So Dead Space 1, back in the day when I tried playing it, when I rented it from Blockbuster when those still existed, that I was just tried playing this, the ammo count is so low. This game is absolutely terrifying. And I was I can't do this. And I just handed the controller to my roommate. It's you can play it. I'm done.
That's funny because we had a sleepover, me and my friend, and we were playing Dead Space 1, and we kept handing the controller back and forth because we didn't want to fucking continue. And then someone would walk 3 feet and get scary, pass the controller over. Yeah, I don't know.
The game is terrifying.
It was very fucking terrifying.
Actually scary.
Yeah, it was fucking so good.
Yeah, the only Dead Space I've played was the first one, and I thought it was pretty good. I should probably play the other, at least the second one.
No,
but,
well,
yeah, it's been a couple of years,
Don't play the third one unless you're playing it for the memes. Because it really is.
I love memes.
I mean, that's
I
fine.
actually do have the third one on my EA account for
Oh.
Origin.
Dude, they gave away. I feel like they gave away the third one for free or something.
content. If you're looking to move on from Brink as being the worst game, you can go on and play some Dead Space 3 with me.
Hey, maybe I'll nominate Dead Space 3. I didn't get a third pick.
There you go. All right. So the only game that I've played that we haven't talked about in the past 2 weeks, one of them is Brink, and we'll talk about that later. The other one is Predecessor, and fucking hell, I don't understand.
Yuck.
So if you ever heard of Paragon or played it back in the day,
this dude's still on about it.
I'm gonna talk about it real quick. Okay, calm down. All
Get your
right.
favorite game
God.
out.
So
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
really my favorite game.
Paragon YouTuber.
But anyways, it's the third person MOBA by Epic, right? And so they at one point they released all of the assets for free. And so multiple different companies now have released basically their version of Paragon. And so this one's predecessor made by some company I don't remember. And I just don't get who this is for. Clearly I'm not the target audience. I think it plays pretty badly. I think the third person perspective honestly isn't very good in a MOBA. Smite does it okay, but what's up?
I will say this, like, as somebody that doesn't play MOBAs like at all, I think I've tried Smite a tiny bit and League of Legends a tiny bit, and that's it. I don't even know what I'm doing the whole time. I will say, like, the third person kind of was an appeal to me when I watched your review. That's coming from somebody that doesn't usually, play MOBAs with the top down and everything. I'm
Watch
usually
videos.
a first person shooter or third person shooter kind of guy. So, the third person like gets you like you're right in the action type of stuff. Like that was kind of an appeal to me. But I'm not. I mean, I don't play MOBA, so I don't know if that's good for that type of game or not. You know what I mean?
I think if you were to play it, you would just be let down by the fact that the combat isn't as satisfying as a proper
because in other
third-person
MOBAs,
game.
In other MOBAs, I just look at it as like you're just clicking the screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in predecessor, it looks like you're more in control.
You definitely are. I mean, you have to aim everything, and
I like that. That seems like it'd be cool to me. Again, I'm not a MOBA guy, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I don't think it's a very good game. I really don't know who it's for because Paragon was obviously shut down by Epic. Some say because of Fortnite, but like in their own release, they said it was because it was underperforming. So I don't see how re-releasing 3 different versions of an underperforming video game would change much other than having a super niche player base. But
I mean, they
Got
fully
you to
released the
play it.
game though, right?
who, Epic or these guys?
I mean, Epic actually released the game though, right? You're saying?
Epic had it was in like beta and then they canceled it. But
gotcha.
yeah, I mean,
And then they released the assets.
Yeah, then they released the assets. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't think it's great. I really don't think it's worth playing unless you're just a huge MOBA fan or you liked Paragon back in the day. But some people like it more than I do, so I guess check it out if you want to.
Some people like their cucumbers pickled, whatever.
Yeah, it happens. All right. I think now we move on to, the worst shooters of all time. So Jared, why don't you go first?
I will gladly start first, and I'm actually going to talk about 2 games together. So first, Alien Colonial Marines. This game was absolutely dreadful from the very beginning because at the start, they released a trailer. You had state-of-the-art lighting, right? You had great-looking graphics, AI smarter than any other game. And then the full game releases, and it's just a complete broken mess, right? Like, when I played through the game, I had no audio. The audio did not work on my game. The game would crash. The AI would not function. The game had so many issues, you had to just ask yourself, how did it end up in this state? And believe it or not, when they were making the game, they removed people from the team to work on Duke Nukem Forever to try to make that game good. So what they ended up with was 2 really shitty games by Gearbox. And if you look at all the devs that actually helped make these games, like Duke Nukem Forever, you had Gearbox working on it, you had Treyarch working on it, you had some Piranha Games, and you had all of these top-tier studios, you could argue, trying to get these games out and functional, and they just ended up making 2 really bad products. And yeah, I carried over to Duke Nukem Forever too, obviously. That game was really bad. The combat was stale. I mean, there's just a lot to not like about these 2 games. And they both had multiplayer, by the way, and those were equally as broken. Well, Alien was broken. Duke Nukem Forever was like a weird Halo ripoff with its multiplayer. Because, you had grav lifts in it, you had power-ups, You had like Hail to the King as a multiplayer mode. You had Capture the Babe. Like it was a really awkward experience multiplayer wise. And it's just like you have these two games that had so much potential, fans were completely hyped for, and they just fumbled the basket with both of them. Like, I don't understand what they were trying to do with these games. And I think they even got sued over the Alien game because of false advertising with the trailers. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Gearbox did a bad job with those games. That's why I have them both on my list. I don't know what you guys think, but
yeah. So
Go ahead.
I have thankfully I think never played either of them, but yeah, I've read stories where like I think I read stuff too where Randy Pitchford or whatever had tried to siphon money from this, not only to help with Duke Nukem but also to help with Borderlands at the time, which obviously was a successful video game.
He scammed Sega. That's what people always say.
Yeah. So
yep, you scammed Sega.
It's kind of funny. I guess kind of a bummer for people who are Aliens fans that just got a terrible video game. But I remember,
I wish there was a good Alien game like this. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember semi-recently.
Alien Isolation?
It's good, but it's like a horror game fully like, I don't know.
Looking for Aliens 2 type of video game.
Yeah. Like an alien shooter, kind of, But yeah, sorry, Arash. Continue your point.
No, I was just gonna say, I remember like a couple years ago, someone found there was like some random line of code with a typo, and they were able to like kind of fix the AI by fixing that line
the AI
of code.
Better.
It's still not a good game, but
Fortunate.
It's funny that like the AI was extra broken just because of one line of code that nobody caught, and they're just like, yeah, I just ship it. It's gotta go. But yeah, Duke Nukem Forever. I think that's the story case of what happens when a game just sits around in development forever, and how it just like 9 times out of 10 ends
100%.
up being a poopy game. And I think this is a fantastic case for it.
You know what's funny about that game though? The multiplayer that they made for it had a lot of features. It had a custom game browser, private matches, it had leaderboards, it had player cards where you could see your stats, and it was just crazy how much went into the multiplayer, but it was so bad. It's like this game did not deserve to have all these features. It had like 4 maps, I think, too.
They put all the effort into the features.
Yep, but no quality to it.
That's funny.
Is this the Alien game that got delayed and like took forever to release? Am I remembering that correctly?
This is the Duke Nukem game that got delayed and took forever to release. I don't think.
I was talking about the Alien game that Jared brought.
The Alien game got delayed. Delayed. Maybe it did.
Yeah, well, it was almost canceled when they removed people from the team to work on Duke Nukem Forever. I'm pretty sure they were going to cancel it, but then they're like, you know what? We're already this far along. Let's just go ahead and finish it, and maybe scam a couple people out of a couple bucks because the game's so terrible.
That's smart. Yeah, I respect that.
Smart.
I respect that.
I respect it.
Fair enough. All right, Kevin, did you bring any games you wouldn't message me?
I misread it and saying just worst games overall and not shooters.
Oh, bad.
No,
So
you can whatever. Just bring whatever you got.
I did my research on my personal most hated game I'd say I've ever played, and that was Madden 06.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm sure no one else in this lobby has ever played the game, much less can understand the hatred of this game.
06, that's the one Madden game I did play. Holy shit. The one that I played.
No, I probably played this, Kevin, because on the PS2 era, I used to play sports games were my shit. I used to play Madden like every year.
Yeah.
So
basically, me too. Like when I was younger, like I was really into sports back then. I used to watch the baseball games, watch the football, watch the basketball games, stuff like that. So like being able to play the games was really cool. So like I've been playing like Madden since like 97, like Madden 64. I remember playing that like not every year, but like consistently,
Mm-hmm.
And my friends and I throughout high school, we were like super into Madden. We would play like all the time. The main thing what we would do is that we would like custom draft rosters.
For sure.
And we'd play those rosters against each other and stuff like that.
Home.
Yeah, basically, it was really a lot of fun.
Yep.
And then with Madden 06, they're like, fuck that. Because They got rid of my favorite mode in the whole thing, which is owner mode, which is basically your way to you can play the games and you can manage the teams when it comes to the contracts, and you can also manage the stadium as a whole. You can down to the price of a hot dog, and really immersive kind of like experience where you can just kind of control every bit of what your team has to offer to succeed. They just took it out. It's out of the game. In 05, it was there. It was fantastic. 06, no, they didn't even bother. You couldn't even challenge plays in 06. In 05, you could, because that was a new thing within football back in the day.
Yeah.
They just took it out. You couldn't challenge plays. I guess the AI computer was right every time, apparently. And also in previous games, like in 05, you could change the individual routes of players. So you could read the defense and go oh, maybe he should run a hook route instead of running a slant or something like that. No. Took that out as well in 06. It was no, you have to change the entire play. You couldn't just change individual players. And then the worst thing about that's not even the worst thing to me. The worst thing to me was the QB vision cone.
Yep. I actually remember that.
You remember that? Yeah. Yep. Remember that? Yeah. The QB vision cone, while a good idea in theory, was the worst gameplay mechanic I've ever experienced, ever. It was so Madden stupid. 06 was the biggest regression in a game I've ever seen in my entire life, still to this date. 05 was a fantastic Madden game and something worth praising even. But in 06, when they went to the next gen version of it, oh my God. It was it was the same game, but they just took a bunch of things away from you. And I was like, why? Why take this away? They got rid of, and they added in this vision cone to try to make QB awareness an actual stat worth checking out. But then it doesn't work because you have to press A to hike the ball, and then you're looking throughout the field to try to see players who are open, which is very difficult enough because you have to juggle 4 or 5 different options to throw to, and then you also dodge players that are trying to tackle you, and then you're trying to throw this QB vision cone where you have to control with the right stick at the same time to try to line it up with the player that you're trying to throw it to. It's a mess, and you couldn't do it co-op or play against your friend because the vision cone goes to the right side. Everyone goes, oh, you're throwing to the right side of the field. Let me just throw the receivers on there or defenders on that side. Good idea in theory, like I said, but terrible in mechanics. And oh my God, Madden 06, still to this day, it was my first experience ever playing a game where I saw genuine degradation of the franchise, and it just stung me so bad that Madden 06 was just the game that made me stop playing Madden. There was I got Madden 10 or 12 later on in the years, played it a couple times, whatever. I played one game of Madden 2022, whatever, with Pat one time. Even though he beat me with the Bills because I kept throwing interceptions, but
you lost to the Bills.
The Bills.
That was that. Yeah, and that was my first time of actually being a salty gamer. Was Madden 06. It scarred me for the rest of my life.
I remember
that was all downhill from there.
I remember playing this as a kid, and that vision cone was the dumbest mechanic ever because yes, in real life, the quarterback in theory has to be looking to the side of the field to throw it. That makes sense. But he can also instantly turn his head, flip. Plus, you kind of have targets that you're going for, and they have their read of progressions. You look at this guy, you look at this guy, but when you're playing in a video game and you had to move the cone over to try and throw, because if you threw outside of the cone, it was just basically you were just fucked. It was just wildly inaccurate.
No point.
So and it wasn't it moved super quick either. So you basically just had to throw to your first read or kind of hope, or if you had enough time, you could move it, right? But yeah, no, that. Very, very bad mechanic in a sports game, but I don't remember as much about some of the features they took out because I was kind of younger at the time. But I think Madden is the poster child for game sequel that takes out shit from the previous game, right? So
yeah. And I'm guessing it had to been the jump to next gen because that was when that was the first 360 game that they had for Madden.
They all do that though, they just take out features that were there the previous year. It doesn't matter.
It seems it's Madden keeps doing was they build, and you just go back and then rebuild again, and just rebuild again, and this constant cycle of Madden where it's just you have one really good game, and then you have 5 really terrible games, and then one good game, and then another 5 terrible games in comparison, kind of thing. It's just, yeah, that was the game that made me stop playing Madden. Was Madden 06. Like I played like, on the 64 days, I played like Madden 01, 2, 3, and 4 all the time. Because I was a sports kid back in the day. But yeah, Madden 06, man, that was my first experience of being a jaded gamer. With that one, and it just stuck with me. So even though we're talking about FPS games, I was like, I don't feel as passionate to any FPS game as I do with Madden 06.
Hey, that's fair. It's all about hatred, right?
Yeah, it's all about just like
I hate consume you.
It's just like that center pit core of just iron. It's just like solid hate.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Madden 06 thoughts?
No.
Like I said, it's the only
NCAA
Madden game that I bought, but I can't remember.
So Pop, so this is the only Madden game that you played.
So it's actually
just like
his
shit on your
favorite.
childhood, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Pop Q. Let's hear your one and only game.
See, the reason I don't have a lot of games is because I don't play a lot of games. And I mean, back in the day, in the PS2 days, I used to play a wide variety of games. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, I've been pretty much primarily Halo for a while. And when we're talking about the worst shooters of all time, realistically, the worst shooters are probably games that we've never even heard of. Some really old games, old ports or something like that. But something I did want to put on this list, and I think it absolutely deserves to be on this list. And I might get some shit for this, but 2014 MCC. I think you have to put that on this list because not only was it one of the most broken games of all time at launch, more broken than Battlefield 4, more broken than Cyberpunk, Fallout 76. It was also broken, barely playable for years. It wasn't just a launch thing. It was multiple years that it was in the state that it was in. And I don't think I need to run through all the issues that game had. I mean, it'd be quicker to tell you the things that did work at launch.
Hey, one time we did a little brief video on 3 drama and failures, and like I feel like MCC was like a big fucking portion of the game. It was like an hour 10 video. It was like 20 minutes of that was just like MCC shit. I think
you had like a brief history on 343 drama that was an hour and 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Real brief, but
real brief. Yeah.
But it was a good video.
MCC launch was disgustingly bad. Like,
oh yeah.
If you look at
it's terrible.
If you look at like the actual quality of games they re-released there, right, and the expectation is like such a letdown.
I think also like that's another thing we need to take in consideration. Like we could like functionally bad games that were either buggy or just like didn't work or just didn't meet expectations or whatever. But like you also have like the bad in comparison of like not meeting. I guess that's what I said earlier, but not meeting expectations of saying like. Like kind of like with Halo Infinite, right? Like people can say it's a bad game because it didn't quite meet the expectations of what a Halo game is, kind of thing. Where like, yeah, you can always shit on like Superman 64 and say how bad that game is, but no one expected the game to be good. But when people expect the game to be good, like I don't know, like Vanguard or some from Call of Duty Vanguard, and like people just hate it overall, then like that I would say would qualify it more as a bad game than like a game that didn't get the support that it needed.
Yeah. And obviously, MCC is in a much better state today. Obviously, it's a very impressive game to look at today. But I don't think that saves it from making a list like this of worst shooters because of its disastrous launch and how long it remained a barely playable game, which was years.
Like a full 4 years, right? It was
it was something.
It came out 2014, right? And Frank O'Connor responded like something 1,200 days later or something like that. Like he left off like a month after we made a Halo Waypoint post. He was like, "We will have news on this soon," and then like 1,300 days later or something, he like finally came back with the update, dude.
I mean, there was
something like that.
There was a bot Twitter account saying like, "It's MCC fixed," right?
Yeah.
It's every day it said no.
There was a countdown to like Frank O'Connor responding and stuff. This is like ticking up. I don't know. It's just like.
And do you remember like all the updates that they were pushing out like right after launch, and like some of the updates didn't work, some of the updates made the game worse, and then it just got
that's like
abandoned for a while.
Matchmaking will be fixed here. Oh nope, it's still broken. IGN covers it again.
Also,
still problems.
Don't forget they did this shady shit where they, I think, let the game reviewers play the campaigns early, right? But nobody got to test the multiplayer early.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
well, no, I do vividly remember like there was streams of people play. They were allowed to stream multiplayer on a certain day before the game launched.
Maybe before the day, but like the embargo went up, and I think all the reviews at like IGN they went out just for the campaigns.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I meant. Like you know what I mean? So like they didn't give out early copies of the multiplayer to IGN necessarily, or like as early. They let like them rate the campaign a 10 out of 10 first, right? Because obviously fucking they gotta rate Halo 1, 2, 3 campaigns like a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? So like there's kind of shady.
How are they playing the campaign without it crashing? Because that was
I guess I don't know, dude.
Yeah, I've told this story many a time now. But so when MCC came out in 2014, like I was in college, and like I was playing PC games and like League of Legends, but I hadn't played Xbox in years. And so I saw MCC was coming out, and I was like, dude, the chance to play Halo 3 again, like I'm in. So I literally, the game comes out, and the day it comes out, I'm reading everything on Reddit. Like, this game is broken, it doesn't work. But like a ton of games did that and still do that today, and they usually get fixed within a couple weeks, right? Every time a League of Legends patch used to come out, the game would be down for like 2 days for some reason. And so I saw that, and I'm like, you know what? They'll get it fixed. I'm going to go buy an Xbox One and MCC just to play Halo 3, basically. And obviously play the other Halos while I'd have it, right? Literally, I go buy an Xbox One and MCC and like a fucking controller and a headset and all this shit. The game literally never worked for me. I never played a working MCC on my Xbox. It just never worked. By the time it worked, I didn't even have an Xbox. Like I wasted probably $400 or whatever to play a straight broken video game. Like,
yeah, it was bad. So bad. I had a friend, he did the same thing. He played CE and then didn't play Halo since. He's like, oh, CE's going to have online? Hell yeah, I want to buy an Xbox and play this. And it didn't work. He tossed that thing in the trash, and he has not played any game since.
They burnt him.
He was that pissed. He's done. I can't get him to come back. I've tried. He won't do it.
Yeah, and you're right, Jared. And that's so many people. There's so many people that they tried this game at launch. It was broken. They forgot about it. Never came back. Yeah. So, yeah.
No,
I mean, it kind of feeds back into what we kind of touched on earlier with like launch release. Like it's why it's so important. We're like, it's people's first impressions. It's first time playing the game and stuff like that. And people it doesn't work. They either go get the refunds, or they just drop it all together, kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah, I think arguably, I mean, obviously we're in a section called the worst shooters of all time. But this is arguably the worst AAA video game to ever release. And I think that's an accomplishment that 343 will never get rid of. I don't know if we'll ever see a game as broken and as useless as this video game with the size of 343. If this was an indie company that you'd never heard of and they released this broken video game and no one cared, like, it wouldn't have made news, right? But this was a major Microsoft studio releasing a game quite literally unplayable for 4 years. So like that's just insane.
I'm
I did one of a Tropic, and I'm really sad.
It's even funnier that we have that exactly as it shipped 10 years ago quote. That's great. It just makes it so much fun here.
Yeah. Exactly as it shipped 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I can't tell the difference because I can't play it.
Yeah, and and obviously,
take your word for it.
Yeah, and PopQ said it. Obviously, MCC is in a much better state today. It's honestly today a good video game, but yeah, no, it's insane how atrocious this was. I feel like some studios this would have shut down the whole studio. but for some reason 343 kind of just brushed it off. And I think the fact that they had Halo 5 coming out the next year and they could kind of just pretend MCC didn't exist for years kind of helped. Because obviously Halo 5 came out and it wasn't, again, perfect or anything, but at least it worked. At least it was a functional video game. So they could kind of move focus to that. And there's tons of stories, obviously, about the development of MCC, about how rushed it was and, how little I think 343 actually did themselves in terms
They
of...
also mismarketed the game so fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like at the first presentation where they revealed it, they kept saying like you can just switch graphics on the fly, and like you can just mix and match these like whatever levels or whatever they said. But like they kept showing multiplayer footage, implying that you can switch the graphics in a multiplayer game, which like that's never even a thing. Like what I mean?
It's not even on the same fucking. It's a different video game. H2A and H2A and H2 Classic are two different games.
Yeah, H2A is a Halo 4 mod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
H2A itself was kind of disappointing in my opinion, even when it worked. But
yeah,
if the game had released maybe like it was supposed to, and MCC had just filled that 1 year gap, H2A probably would have been an underwhelming recreation of Halo 2, no doubt. But for a mod for a game that was really supposed to only have a lifespan of a year, I don't think it would have been as big a deal. But since people, went back to MCC and whatnot, H2A's lack of features and content, or not features, but lack of content now and maps and whatnot, definitely became more of an issue outside of the actual gameplay issues, which stem from it, being a Halo 4 mod.
Yeah, it's something I like to bring up when we mention H2A is I really wish they would have used the campaign remastered graphics for the Halo 2 anniversary multiplayer. I wish they did it like the campaign.
H2A graphics still look good to this day.
I mean, it was a different engine for multiplayer and campaign. You know what I mean? So
what?
It was a different engine between multiplayer and campaign,
Yeah,
so I guess they can do it. It's kind of stupid. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's MCC. You probably win, PopQ, but
I win.
We continue on.
What do I win?
That's true. Madden was pretty bad too. All right, Luke, you're next up.
Okay, guys, think back 10 years ago, right? DayZ mod is at its biggest hype. They just announced the DayZ standalone. Everybody's fucking excited.
There it goes.
Everybody likes DayZ, right? And then a little fucking game releases originally called The War Z, later would be called Infestation Survivor Stories. One of the biggest fucking pieces of shit I've ever seen, I've ever played. I've had the displeasure of playing is $30 or just some shit in like an alpha access. They released the game on Steam. It was removed 2 days later for false advertisement because they had so many features promised that were not there at launch. They would never come. There was controversies like the main head developer calling people the F word, and I mean the slur, on the fucking public forums for camping.
What are you talking about?
No, I mean, I can't say it.
Oh, okay.
It's not fuck.
It's
not fuck.
You want to explain yourself?
It's not fuck. It's the homophobic slur. Just publicly calling people. That was a controversy. Then the game shut down the servers because all the information got hacked. The source code, user information got hacked. They shut it down a year later. I think they would eventually reinstate it, but in 2016, just 4 years later, the game would completely shut off. That was riddled with microtransactions. So at the alpha, right, you would die, you lose your stuff, your character would need an hour to recharge, right, and you could hop in again, right? Okay, fair. When the game released, they increased it to 4 hours, or you pay money to play right now. So,
Holy shit, that does sound awful.
Yummiest shit ever. Then there was no fucking features. The alpha and the release were barely different, and somehow this game still managed to sell like 3 million copies. Because like it just rid on that DayZ hype, and like people give DayZ a lot of shit for its development, like especially the standalone. But like this isn't even close to whatever the fuck Infestation Survivor Stories did. So yeah.
Wow.
Like I vaguely remember hearing like invasion stories.
They also they were called the War Z, and then they had to change it because of the movie The World War Z, right? Like they got
Yeah.
a little cease and desist letter later on, and yeah, like it was just like some of the worst things. I think they also banned users criticizing the game on the forum and on Steam. So like it was a good old fucking PR miss as well. There was like a lot going on.
I will say it's similar to DayZ. It was basically just trying to be DayZ, but like just better graphics or something. Like how is it like DayZ but different?
Promised like more maps, more game modes at the time, right? It promised like better PvE activities, right? It just like it was built on promise.
DayZ was support. That's what you're saying.
Kind of, yeah. And I mean, DayZ was not the Day standalone was not out yet, right? That wouldn't. I think the alpha wouldn't start until 2013. So like it was this weird limbo, where like so like I think they just rushed this game out to like get out before whatever the fuck DayZ standalone is doing. But like it promised like a ton of fucking shit that never got delivered on. So yeah, it just promised a more feature-rich DayZ. You know what I mean? But like it was all just fucking smokes and mirrors. Like nothing behind it. Nothing ever came of it.
Dude, this came out during that period where basically every shitty ass survival game on Steam would sell a bunch of copies for some reason, because everyone just wanted the new like hype survival game. And yeah, I never played this one, but I do remember hearing about just how absolutely dog shit it was.
Yeah, no, this is definitely the worst offender ever. And like the fact that like even Steam banned them for like multiple things, like it just shows you. And I think if you go to like on Wikipedia, if you go to like games with notable negative reception, I think it is one of the few games that is actually on there. Like there's a whole ton of games on there, right? Like Halo Infinite, for example, isn't on there because it's not that bad. But like this shit is on there, and Duke Nukem is on there, like shit like that. Like you know what I mean? Like this is fucking atrociously bad.
I mean, that whole DayZ craze back in like the early 2010s was like what the early battle royale craze was, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
saw so many DayZ clones come out to try to capitalize on this new fad that only DayZ had, which was a mod, which was super janky and didn't really play that well.
We're getting that again
but
with
the
Tarkov.
experience is so cool. Yeah, but yeah, it led to Tarkov, or even DayZ. I would say was the original battle royale, which kind of because DayZ led to H1Z1. Then H1Z1 became a battle royale, which then you had Battlegrounds, and then after Battlegrounds you had Fortnite, which was the first like BR game that had like a true like AAA like support that felt actually good to play, and you know it had the proper optimization and stuff like that. So that's why like Fortnite just killed it. And then like since it was Epic, they already had like a ton of money with them. But like they could actually support a battle royale game, like a lot of these other startup studios that try to capitalize on the fad without realizing like, oh, we actually have to like support the games too. Shit.
Russia webcams are frozen, by the way.
I could fix this. It's weird. If I like click off of Discord, it freezes them.
Worst podcast host ever.
I agree. But
such an amateur, dude. Like, come on.
Definitely an amateur, that's for sure. All right, any final thoughts on this great video game?
No, besides that, I would like. I know someone suggested a Resident Evil game.
Yeah. I wasn't. We still have more games to go, Mr.
No,
Luke.
sorry. I just want to go after them. That's all I want to say.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
let's calm down here.
All right, so before we do that great video game, maybe we'll talk about Brink real quick, because I recently replayed that, and I also hate this video game. So Brink came out in, I think, like 2011 or whatever. I don't remember the exact year. I probably should, since I literally just made a video on it that was way too long. But yeah, so Brink came out, and at the time it was kind of hyped. And now this technically is not the worst shooter of all time, but I do think it was a massive disappointment. So I want to talk about it, because this game had a ton of hype at the time, because it kind of was the first game to really have, you know, that parkour movement in a shooter, and so they tried to like implement it into Brink. But the weird thing is they only really implemented the true parkour movement if you were playing the light body type, which not a lot of people would play when you played online because you were so squishy. So the main thing that would have made this game unique and cool at the time, like half the people in the game wouldn't even play it because you would just play as a medium. So I think that was an odd design choice. I feel like just giving everyone the same movement mechanics probably would have been a better play. But yeah, this game in general, I feel like it was delayed a couple times, and it just feels like a game that was never fixed or never properly finished. Like the PC port is a disaster. It's one of the most unoptimized things I've ever played. And I did some research to figure out, because sometimes if you play old video games on modern hardware, it'll like throw issues that don't make any sense. But I did some research into this, and this game was just an unoptimized buggy mess even when it came out in whatever year it came out. And so the PC port was a mess. Even the optimization on consoles wasn't that great. You had this weird system where they tried to basically ship you a game with no campaign, but they pretended it had a campaign. So you had the multiplayer, which was this class-based objective style gameplay. And then you had the campaign, which was the same fucking game against bots on the same fucking maps, with the only difference was that you got a cutscene at the start and end of each mission. That's the only thing that made it a campaign.
That's Titanfall 1 inspiration right there.
It probably inspired them to do that. And no, the campaign is horrible. The bots are so fucking stupid. They're useless. And you could play the game co-op, which would have made it better. Currently co-op, I couldn't get to work on PC, but I do remember playing this co-op with my friend back in college. And playing it co-op was kind of one of those games where it's like a little bit more fun if you play with someone, because you could kind of coordinate with them. But if you're trying to play this solo on any of the higher difficulties, just good luck. You're just going to be frustrated, because each class has specific objectives that only they can do, right? And so if you're playing a different class, you can't do the objective, and you can switch classes, but you end up in this weird case where you level up a character, and as you level up the character, you unlock extra perks, and you put them either into general or a specific class. So you probably kind of specialize in one class, right? But then if you play single player, or if you played multiplayer and you didn't have proper classes on your team, you would need to switch to a different class, and then you would have none of the extra perks. You'd basically have the bare minimum, right? And so it's this weird system where if you're playing the campaign, you kind of have to switch classes a bunch to do the different objectives, because relying on the AI to do anything is just a waste of your time. But I don't know. It's funny because I think some people remember this game a little bit more positively, obviously, than I'm bashing on it. And I think that some of that's just because at the time it did have some hype, and it just completely crashed and burned. And if you play this game today, it is atrocious. It's not the worst game by any means, but I do think it was very disappointing. I think this game had some cool ideas, and unfortunately, it was just let down by everything. And Splash Damage went on to make some better video games, but I think Brink is pretty bad. Did you guys play any Brink?
No. I remember playing it back in the day, and I think on the 360 I had it.
Yeah.
But I think I picked it up, another thing about it, I picked it up way after for like $4 or $5 or something, like out of the fucking bottom of some bin at GameStop. But like, it was like a weird fucking game. It felt like, I don't know. It felt like there was like no weight to the gameplay. I don't know how to explain it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
like shooting and stuff.
Because at the time I just remember hearing the terrible reviews for like Brink.
Yeah.
Brink was like the butt of every gaming joke when the game released. Like it was just like the biggest flop of all flops of all time kind of stuff. Like that's how bad it was. At least that's what everyone said at the time when it came to Brink. And like, I mean, I listened to like I know you guys remember hearing the KB Mod podcast, Keyboard Mouse or Die podcast. And they like, it was like almost like a joke. Like every single game, they would find some way to shit on Brink, like no matter what. It was like, it's always seemed like it was a game like yeah, it has good ideas, but like they just didn't fully realize them, and the game was a complete buggy mess that like didn't even work or something like that.
Yeah.
So I never put the time in.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's bad for sure. Yeah, I think.
But you know from firsthand now, so like.
Well, I played it back in the day too. When I bought it in college, I remember playing it, and I wasn't like as into games at the time, so I remember playing it thinking like this is okay, and then I just never touched it again. But when I replayed it recently, it's like holy moly, this is actually just a terrible video game. But yeah, so that's Brink. Jared, you want to do another game?
Sure, why not? Let's go down the road of 2022, a free-to-play game. I'm pretty sure it's free. I don't know, I downloaded it for free. It's called Resident Evil Reverse, a multiplayer Resident Evil game. It's basically a 6-man free-for-all. There's items on the field, healing items, weapons, and then you got vials. And this makes the game very unpredictable because if you have no vials and you die, you mutate into a monster. Now, if you're holding one vial, you can then mutate into 2 different monsters that are different from that one monster. And then if you're holding 2 vials, you can mutate into 2 random monsters different from those previous 3 monsters. So the gameplay becomes already super unpredictable. Then you have different characters who are famous Resident Evil characters like Claire Redfield, Ada Wong, yada yada. You go through the characters, and they're incredibly unbalanced. Let's see. The game runs like just dog shit. I'm gonna be honest. The frame rate's not great. It's mechanically, it doesn't feel good. There's skill-based matchmaking, which I don't know why the hell you have this in a Resident Evil game. I mean, it's a survival horror game. It's not Call of Duty. It's not Halo. And it's just like, and then of course you got cosmetics and battle passes and all this other stuff, and they're still updating the game. And it has like, I think when I last looked or played it, it had like 65 players.
Yeah.
You have to have crossplay on, because if you're not playing against PC players, you won't find a match on console. And it's like, I don't know when Capcom's gonna understand that a Resident Evil game that has co-op can be really good if you do it, right. It's a survival horror game. Maybe try to lean onto that. Quit trying to make it like an action Call of Duty game where you score points by getting kills, and it's like, and it's like ranked Halo. You just go until the time runs out, and whoever has the most points wins. It's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It's like, I'm not trying to play some sweaty Halo HCS free-for-all playlist. Like, I just want to kill some zombies with friends. It's like, you look back at one of the mainline games, Resident Evil 0, where you had to control 2 main characters at once. It's like, man, maybe you should have made that game co-op. That would make a lot more sense. And then you can add in some, I don't know, some timed survival mode, or even look at their mercenary game types in past games like Resident Evil 4, where, you just fight hordes of enemies for as long as you can. Like, it's just, it's one of the worst games. Also, when you're playing it for the first time, it takes like 20 to 30 minutes to get into the game, depending on how stupid their servers are working, because you gotta go like sign up, go to their website, sign into that, go back to the game, put in the password, and then you can play it. Like, it's ridiculous. That's how I feel about it anyways.
My entire experience with this game is one time I was looking at the new releases on Steam because I was like, I kind of need a game to make a video on. And all I see is a Resident Evil game that released like 2 days ago that has like 50 players. And I'm just like, what on earth is this? Like, what happened? How did you release a game? It had no marketing when they dropped this game. I don't even, they must have known it was a complete dud, I feel like, because there is absolutely no effort put into pushing this at all. And yeah, from the gameplay, it looks pretty jank.
Yeah, this looks terrible.
It's like a fighting game. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of this. Is it multiplayer only?
Yeah.
Yeah, only multiplayer. Only one mode too. Just this mode. Yeah, they announced it with Resident
Evil 8. I thought it was just like
they keep
it was just
delaying it
with Resident Evil 8, like just coming out as like some random mode.
Yeah, it's just, and they delayed it like 3 times, and I could see why.
And it
Yeah,
only
'cause-
released with one mode. And
Yep,
it's a
just one
multiplayer
mode.
only game.
Yep.
Yes.
That is just
Has, has
No
multiple
custom
maps,
games,
right?
no- Yeah, there's a few different maps. A
Okay.
few.
Yeah, because I remember
Oh.
that now. Originally, it was
Oh.
supposed to be the multiplayer for a Resident Evil game, right? But it
Yeah,
just
for
got
Resident Evil 8,
it just got
basically.
Yeah, that's what I
delayed.
thought.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they added some broken characters, like SOCOM characters, I believe, if I remember right. Like one could turn invisible, one has an overpowered assault rifle, and it's just ridiculous.
What
That's
the
great.
hell?
This is a good use of Capcom's budget. I like it.
Oh
This is
yeah.
this is a good game. Oh, that's funny. Alrighty. Whale, Luke, did you have another game you want to talk
Yeah.
about?
Okay, so on the topic of Resident Evil, imagine all the bullshit we said, a lot of what Jared just said, but now think back 6 years ago when Resident Evil Umbrella Corps released a fucking PvE multiplayer game where you play as like whatever the Umbrella Corps agents are called. I forgot their names. It
Umbrella
literally, huh?
Umbrella Corps?
It was called
Oh.
Umbrella Corps. Yeah, Resident Evil Umbrella Corps.
Oh, yeah.
I guess an umbrella agent or whatever. I don't remember what they're called, but it literally was a game that did not work. It was another one of those like what Jared said. Why the fuck are they making a multiplayer
It's
game out
so
of this
jank.
horror franchise? And actually, I remember there was like some bug, and it was tied to your Steam account, where like you could not play with your friends if they had the same bug. So like there was literally no fix. It never got fixed. You literally could not. There was nothing to do. You could not play with your friends if you both had this bug. You know what I mean? So like it was literally
That's a
fucking
feature.
unbeatable. And it was like the weirdest thing. There was like zombies on the map, but it was like a multiplayer game, and you had like these jammers where like the zombies wouldn't see you, but you could also jam other people's jammers, so they would get attacked by zombies. And like, where the fuck is this? Like, I think this also only launched with one mode. This is like, you know what I mean? Reverse is just a repeat of this fucking garbage. It seems like. And yeah, it is just a fucking atrocious game.
It looks.
Yeah,
it
by
looks
looking at
pretty
this
good.
gameplay, I would not know this is Resident Evil.
That's another thing. It does not look at all. You know, even at least the reverse thing you saw in the video, you run around as Leon, or you see the fucking Grandpa from Resident Evil 7 with like his scissors or whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah.
But like this game, you're just some fucking unknown soldier and just running around and like I don't know. I guess there's some zombies.
Just when you're aiming in, this looks so
Yeah.
wrong.
The gameplay was ass. It didn't work. It was just bad.
Yeah. This looks.
Wow.
Really
It didn't
bad.
have a
That's funny.
campaign. This was just straight multiplayer. It had a horde mode. There was like, but I don't even know if you could play the horde mode co-op. The horde mode was maybe more like a tutorial. So like this was just multiplayer too. And this was, I don't think this was announced with anything like tied together.
Yeah, I
This
think
was,
this was on its own.
Yeah, this just happened. Like
Yeah, I never would have even found this game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This one would have stayed in the.
it's kind of a forgotten thing, but like this is a Resident
Good.
Evil game, which is one of the biggest franchises, and they released this garbage. So
All right. No, this is solid. All right. Does anyone have any other games they want to talk about, or even just mention if you don't really think it's the worst game of all time?
I do have one I want to mention. I can't say too much on it because I haven't played it, and the reason I didn't play it is because there was things about it that I knew that I didn't like, and I'm thinking of Lost Planet 3. I don't know how many of you played Lost Planet 2 back in the day.
I think
I
I
played
played
I
camera,
remember
yeah.
playing it.
Yeah.
Which
just
one
don't
had
remember
the
much.
snow guy on the cover?
The first
That was
one?
Lost Planet
Snow
1. That
guy
was
on the cover?
extreme
Okay.
conditioning. And I
think
didn't
played
even-
that one.
I didn't play Lost Planet 1. I've seen gameplay of it. It looks decent, but Lost Planet 2 was legit. I played it co-op with a friend multiple times. It was a fun game. And Lost Planet 3, the sequel, did not have co-op. So that was a major bummer. I mean, we played Lost Planet 2 co-op multiple times, and then the sequel doesn't have co-op. I don't know what's up with that. The story was like a prequel to Lost Planet 1. It didn't have the customization that Lost Planet 2 had. Like, you could beat the game, get new skins. I think Marcus and Dom from Gears, you could play with their skins. There was all these dances you could have, emotes, and different types of weapons you got once you beat the game. So they're added some like replayability to it. And Lost Planet 3 didn't have any of that customization. Lost Planet 2 was a game with a bunch of different mechs you could use, and using the different mechs was actually pretty fun, even though I'm not one for like mech gameplay. But Lost Planet 3 only had one type of mech. You could upgrade it, but that's not really the same thing. So I don't know if I'd call it the worst game of all time or one of them, but it was definitely a letdown coming from Lost Planet 2. Again, I didn't play it, but that's the reason I didn't play it, because it was missing all that stuff.
I'm actually curious with Lost Planet. I remember it being like a rather popular game for quite some time there, back in like it's like early 2000s, 2010s, or something like that. Was this the game that kind of killed the franchise, you'd say?
It was the last one. I don't know how well it did. I think it got bad reviews, and there just wasn't another one after that. So I think it's like the most like hated in the series.
Wow.
Lost Planet 2 was great. People that play it know. I wish I could have played the multiplayer. We didn't even play Lost Planet 2 until years later, after it had already been out for a while. It was fun.
The multiplayer was really good in Lost Planet 2, but like to get all the achievements in that game, if that's something you cared about, it was a grind. Like you're spending 1,000 hours in multiplayer trying to get the achievements done at least. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, all right. I actually, I remembered a game I wanted to talk about. All right, so we'll do a little backstory first. So during the BR craze that was first kind of spinning up, right? You had like the DayZ mod, or it was originally like a mod for DayZ, right? And it was a battle royale mod, and then you had like H1Z1. But I think before H1, or either before H1Z1. I'm pretty sure it was before or right after H1Z1, but before PUBG, you had a game called The Culling, which was actually originally a very unique take on the battle royale genre, and it was a lot more like Hunger Games than it was like the battle royale that we think about. Like you would drop in, and there was way less players, but it had that like game show-esque style that the Hunger Games has, where, you know, like shit would drop, like the announcer dude would be like, a package is dropping, and he'd like drop you a present, and you had this weird like melee centric combat where you could get guns, but the combat in this game was almost like rock paper scissors, sort of, because you could like slash at people, or you could like block, or you could push them. So you would like, if someone was blocking, you needed to push them to break their block. But you know, you didn't want to like swing and like leave yourself open to getting hit back. It was like a unique but kind of jank take on the BR genre. And so this game had moderate success for the time. I think it hit like 10 or 20K on Steam, but this is a really small studio, right? And the game did die off pretty quickly because they made some pretty bad choices. They kind of like, they went all over the place with balance updates where they would listen to the players, and then the game became a kind of hodgepodge mess. So it ended up dying. Well, the same company decided to release The Culling 2 a few years later. And The Culling 2 is just it's just a shitty version of PUBG. And that's literally all it was. They tried charging money for it when it came out, and
I like those numbers.
It was quite literally, it peaked at 249 players. It was dead.
Damn.
It was dead. It was dead the day it came out. It died so quickly.
Be a record.
Yeah, it died so quickly. I think they just shut it down, and then they tried to re-release the original Culling with the original patch. One of the things that the Culling 2 had too was it had this weird ass fucking system where you could only play like a certain amount of times per day unless you bought additional like drops. And so it was like,
oh my
I don't
God.
know.
Yeah, it's pay per match.
Yeah,
They changed it to pay per match. Like you have to pay, like buy a token to play a match.
Yep, exactly. And you got a certain amount per day unless you like paid for them.
Yeah, or if you win, you get a token.
You win, you get a token, dude. one of the
Holy shit.
weirdest fucking, and it came out way after PUBG had already been out too, and so it was just like a shitty, like terrible version of PUBG trying to release after PUBG, and you're just like, what is the purpose of this game? And the answer to that was there wasn't one. And I think the company now has like the studio now has completely shut down. So I don't think that this was the play. But
Wow.
yeah.
Is this still playable?
No, it's not.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
pulled.
I mean,
Unfortunate.
you kind of sold me on. I kind of want to play it now.
Yeah.
I don't
got
think it was
enough of
worth
us.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I have another one we could talk about. I actually think this game was kind of like underrated, but it was kind of a huge letdown. So I don't know if you guys played Lawbreakers, but I figured maybe we
No.
could talk about it a little bit. So Lawbreakers was an arena shooter that came out basically the same time as Overwatch, the original Overwatch. And at the time, Overwatch cost $40, and this game cost $60. But they went head to head, and obviously Overwatch had the marketing budget of Blizzard, and this had the marketing budget of. I mean, it was a AAA game. The dude that headed the studio was the dude that headed the Gears of War game, like the original Gears of War games.
You got Gears money.
Yep.
Yeah. So they had like actual like developers behind it. It was a legit game, and it was supposed to it was supposed to be a cool arena shooter, and the bits that I played of it was really cool, but this game just died out of the gate. Like it hit the death cycle right as soon as it launched, because it was a multiplayer only game. And so basically it launched and people were like, yeah, the gameplay, like it's kind of fun. It had some weird mechanics that were kind of confusing. Like you had these like anti-gravity zones that were like kind like a lot different than the standard parts of the map, and so it could take a little bit of getting used to and stuff, but the game was like pretty fun, but unfortunately it just never had a big player base right out the gate, and so people were like hesitant to pay $60 for a multiplayer only game when they'd already heard that it didn't have a big player base. And it died pretty quickly. It went free to play like on the way out. Like basically as they were shutting it down, they put it free to play for a few months, and then they shut the servers down. Then they tried to make Radical Heights, which was some fucking some shitty BR.
The 80s battle royale.
yeah, that didn't do as well as they had hoped. Like basically this game did so poorly, they tried to throw together a BR to make some money to keep the studio alive, and it didn't work, and then the studio shut down. So
Yeah.
I think if you talk to people that actually played Lawbreakers, I mean, I don't think anyone would tell you this is like the worst shooter of all time, but it definitely like underwhelmed and underperformed for sure. That was just one that I could like more recently think of. Yeah, so I don't know, unless you guys have any other ones, we can kind of wrap it up.
Remember the shooter Evolve, real quick?
Oh,
Like
Evolves,
Evolve?
yeah.
It was a weird fucking failure too.
I
I don't
never
know if
played that
it's
one
the
either.
worst one, but I remember it's like weird. Like you bought a season pass, but the season pass did not have all the DLC,
Yeah.
and there was like kind of like a weird thing for that. And also there was like a bunch of issues with THQ going bankrupt and selling the IP during development or something. I don't know. It's just like a weird fucking time too. And then another one, more recent, the GTA Remastered trilogy.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
that is
Those are
atrocious.
those are
That may not
bad.
go over very well.
Yeah.
Have they fixed those, or are they still just broken?
I don't.
I think they
just
actually, I
never
think
went
they
back.
roughly fixed them enough to where. I mean, didn't they like take them off the market as well?
The original ones, they took the original ones off the market to sell the shitty fucking version
Yeah.
of them. And also, the fucking Rockstar launcher broke for like the first 2 or 3 days of the game releasing, so you could not play the game because you needed to fucking connect to the Rockstar launcher to play your fucking GTA San Andreas or some shit like that.
There was like
So
some
on
really
PC
good mods out there that like made it like a remastered, and they banned
yeah.
those mods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're
you
hearing
mean
that
like for the
story.
original ones? Yeah.
They dropped the Nintendo ban
So
hammer.
this was a lot of fucking shady shit going on with this game, and then the game, for like how classic these games are, it was very fucking disappointing.
Yeah, no, I was actually like not like mega excited, because you can only be so excited for like remasters, but I was like kind of I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna pick it up and play through all the GTA games. And then it was it came out and it was just so broken. I never obviously bought it, so I didn't play them. But yeah, kind of a bummer because like those old school GTA games are super cool. Like it would be fun to go back and play them, but then this is actually, I would say, one of the few like recent failures Rockstar has really had, because I feel like while you can meme,
they don't release games that often.
Yeah, they don't release games that often, but
usually can you fail.
Yeah, but usually when they do, they're good. GTA, right. Red Dead
Online though. Red Dead Online got a lot of fucking flack.
Yeah, it's not like bad though. It's just underwhelming.
I thought Red Dead Online was actually good. It just didn't get the support that it needed. Like GTA was.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Yeah.
GTA Online definitely killed Red Dead Online. They tried replicating that same kind of formula, but with the Wild Wild West rather than being a gangster in modern day era. But like still like from my experience of playing Red Dead 2 online, I actually had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, no, I have actually not played Red Dead at all, but
Red Dead 2, dude. At least play the camp. Like, at least play like the campaign, dude. It's amazing. One of the best like single player.
I didn't play the campaign. I only played the online.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I think you did it the wrong way.
Yeah, you definitely did the wrong way there, Luke.
Don't feel bad, Luke. I've only played Undead Nightmare. I haven't played the actual 2 games.
Dude, Undead Nightmare was good though, right?
I never played the first one, but like the second one kind of is like a prequel apparently to the first one, but you don't need to play it to really kind of understand the story and appreciate for what they did. But yeah, like Red Dead 2, like I actually would say it's one of my all-time favorite like single player like campaign games of all time. Like it was amazing.
Yeah. All right. I thought of one other game. I've actually never played this. I just remember it coming out and I think being pretty bad. But did you guys ever play Haze on the 360? It was
Halo Killer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a fucking Halo killer. And just like I don't even know what the fuck this thing was.
This game was terrible. I don't remember too much.
Also a bunch of these like almost like these shovelware shooters back then.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to describe it. Like I feel like Haze, there's like 50 fucking clones of Haze too. Like I don't know. I don't remember all the names, but like, yeah.
Yeah, this was
Haze is the real reason Halo died off. Look at it now.
I mean, look at this
play some
gameplay.
Haze.
This is hype.
It's like Crisis but bad.
Literally, that's literally what I think it is. It looks like it too, with the jungle and shit, dude. No, I remember playing. I think I rented this or something, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then I don't think I ever beat it or anything. I'm trying to think any other good underwhelming games. You know what game was like? This wasn't terrible, but the Perfect Dark for 360 was kind of underwhelming. Did you guys play that?
Yeah,
I think Perfect Dark Zero or something.
I like the story of it.
The story wasn't
bad.
Yeah, it was fine. But I played like the multiplayer, and I don't know. Maybe it was like nostalgia, but I felt like I expected more out of the multiplayer, and it was just kind of mid.
The only Perfect Dark I played on 360 was the remaster multiplayer that they had on there for the arcade.
Oh,
which that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Does anyone have?
There's another game I wanted to mention.
Perfect,
I remember playing this back in the day. Quake Wars. I don't know. Any of you.
Oh shit! You're gonna put this as one of the worst games.
You like Quake Wars?
I never play it, but people like talk this game up.
Yeah, people like this game.
I don't necessarily think it's one of the worst, but maybe I played it on Xbox. Maybe it was different on PC if it was, but like it was like a mix of like a first-person shooter and like
it's like a Tom Clancy Ghost Recon game. Right?
Yeah, no, you have the right game. Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the right game.
I'm thinking it.
Yeah,
okay, this is the game. It's like a mix of a first-person shooter and RTS game. I played it a lot. I mean, it's just because it was unique at the time to me. But I thought I figured this would be one of the games that people hated. I mean, like if you're an RTS fan, this is probably not doing it for you. And if you're a Quake fan, I also don't see how this is doing it for you. It's like a wannabe RTS / Battlefield type of game. I remember it being really weird.
Made by Splash Damage.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
like, well,
mentioned it. I
Battlefield
thought,
had like that commander mode, which kind of made Battlefield into like an RTS in a way. So maybe they kind of thought like, oh, if you just make a game out of that, you know.
I mean, it was a strange game. I mean, again, I played it back in the day. I just thought more people. I just figured it was a game that people probably hated. But if you say people praise this game, then I'll take your word for it.
I don't know if they. I don't know. I don't think you probably wouldn't see like. I don't think it's like super well thought of, but
Titanfall 2 levels of praise.
Yeah, it's not that. But like if you
10 people love my game.
If you mention this game, people will be like, "Oh yeah, like I like that." But I don't know.
Well, I remember bringing this game up to you years ago, and you didn't even know what it was. So I thought it was like a forgotten game, like didn't really do anything. But
I think I figured out what it was after that.
Oh, okay.
But all right. Any other last suggestions? I'm sure there's probably like so many that were just kind of in the mid category that my brain has just blocked out over the years. But
the last game I wanted to mention, and this is again not one of the worst, but there was a lot of things I didn't like about it, and it was definitely didn't live up to the hype that I had at the time. Was Far Cry 2. The first and this is kind of a me thing, because the first Far Cry game I played was Far Cry Instincts, and I don't know if like any of you have played that, but you had like abilities in that, like you were like half human,
Instincts
half
the
like,
one. Wasn't that the one that was like you're like a caveman or something?
You're like no, that was Primal. No, this was like
Primal.
like a different take on the a different take on the original Far Cry. And you kind of you were like a mutation. You were like half monster, half human. You could go around like clawing people and stuff like that. It was a really cool game, and that was my first experience for Far Cry. And little did I know that's not what Far Cry is at all. That was just like a one time thing. And so then I play Far Cry 2, and you don't have these abilities that you had in Far Cry Instincts, and it was more open world, which I didn't like. But there was a lot of annoying stuff, like your cars would always jam. You would have to repair them. Your guns would jam. That was annoying. You had, at the beginning of the game, I think you get malaria, and then you have to keep getting meds to treat that throughout the whole game. It was just like a really annoying, especially for me, coming from Far Cry Instinct. So I just wanted to throw that. Again, not one of the worst games, but definitely did not live up to the hype for me.
I guess some of Far
Cry Instincts got a sequel?
Wait, what?
Far Cry Instincts got a sequel. Did you know that?
What do you mean? Did it?
Far Cry Instincts Evolution, yeah.
Oh, well, no, I think that was...
No, that
wasn't that was on Wii, right?
Maybe.
That was the
dude.
Wii. I think that was the Wii version.
Well,
and I
maybe
played
they
it.
re-released it. Because like, there was a compilation where they re-released both, like a edition later on.
Oh, no, I think that is the one that I played for Xbox on 360. Instincts, I think, was on the original Xbox, and Instincts Evolution, I think, was it was basically the same game, but on 360, if I remember correctly. Which actually had a really good map editor for its time.
Yeah, Far Cry usually has pretty good map editors. But that talking about like the Wii game just made me think of like, obviously we focused on games that released on like the main consoles and PC, but you could probably do a fucking whole podcast on the dog shit ports of shooters that have come out on the Nintendo consoles or the handhelds. Like
Call of Duty fits
PSP games and
dude,
stuff.
there's so many bad ones.
Wait, do you guys remember when they would remake like stuff for the GBA?
Yeah.
Like you get a fucking shooter remade on the fucking Game Boy? Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are probably
they
truly the worst.
Yeah, they used to support Call of Duty games onto the Wii.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they had like but the thing is, they had like their own like unique maps, and you'd see like the Wii players play on like, firing range on like, I don't know, Black Ops 1, or not Black Ops 1, but like Black Ops 2 or something like that. You're like, bro, I want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, the Wii players get it, not the core player base.
Dude, they deserved it, man. They were on the Wii struggling out there.
Yeah. You got something out of this, right?
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. Does that wrap it up for you guys?
I'm good on my end. I got the bitch can play about something at least.
Perfect. Kevin's a dedicated Madden hater now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm right there with Angry Joe. Like he and I are just like contesting for views every year by hating on Madden.
There you go. There's I like stumbled into a rabbit hole. There's some Madden YouTuber whose name I can't think of right now, and basically I don't even know how he does it, but he makes a video. He's made videos on basically every iteration of Madden and why it sucks, and like, but he doesn't do it when they came out. They're like retrospective videos about like why Madden '08 was missing features, and you're like, how do you even remember this shit? Like, how do you keep him?
You can make an entire channel on disappointment Madden.
That's what his channel is. It's like it's Madden and other peppered sports games, but mostly Madden. But yeah. All right. So why don't we go through? What are you guys up to these days, Mr. Pop Q?
Nothing.
All right. Perfect. Luke, what are you in the Rocket Sloth Squad up to?
Big things coming next year. Stay tuned. That's all I can say for now.
All right, Kevin.
Oh. Yeah, I'm always on that YouTube grind on Kevin Kulik's YouTube channel. If you guys want to check it out, check it. Mainly still doing the Halo news stuff. I'm trying to branch out and see if I can. I'm trying to feel out and see like what I can really do, given the time I have throughout the day to make YouTube content. To branch out a little bit beyond the Halo. I mean, been getting really into shorts recently, so I've been trying out that format to see how it plays out. I know Arash, you've been all about the YouTube shorts and stuff like that as well recently.
Yeah, I've been trying them. It's been
a few 100,000 views on some things on TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, TikTok's weird because like I looked at it earlier. I think I have like almost 2 million views in the past like month, but
really,
it's like TikTok views, so I feel like they're just meaningless. Like I don't even know if they're real. They're probably just like some bot in China that watched a clip like 10 times.
Probably, honestly.
Like, so I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, the TikTok's doing pretty decent. It's funny because like so I post the same shorts on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, and it's funny like the stuff that does well because like on TikTok, the stuff that does best is when I either like do a news type post where I talk about something, or the podcast clips. Whereas like on YouTube Shorts, the stuff that does the best is just shit that's short. Like if I post like a Twitch clip like edited that's like 20 seconds, dude, it'll be like 1 out of 10. You'll be like, why did people watch this? So yeah, I don't know. I think YouTube like prioritizes retention time maybe or something. I don't know.
It's all about engagement when it comes to YouTube. If you can get a video that people are engaging with, then YouTube be like, oh, people like it then. Like, well, maybe not, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I've been posting. I try and post like podcast clips and stuff on there. So if you don't want to listen to the whole podcast, you can catch little snippets of the highlights. So yeah, Jared, what have you been up to?
Game reviews, more game reviews, and even more game reviews. And I don't know if you remember, I said I was playtesting 2 games. I am now just playtesting 1 game because one of the 2 people were being dicks at the company. So now I'm playtesting 1 game, and it is a horror game, and I will be in the credits of that game when it releases.
Nice.
I can't say anymore, but I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be cool. Never thought that day would come, so
Yeah, no, that's pretty
can't wait
hype.
to talk about that more.
That's cool. Alrighty, well I think that's gonna wrap it up. I don't know when the next podcast will be. 2 weeks from now is Kevin's Halo Award show, so Kevin will be busy. I don't know if maybe we'll do something like after his, but Kevin will probably.
I timed it specifically for that reason.
Well, I figured even if your thing ended, you'd be exhausted from doing the Halo Award show, but yeah, maybe I'll message you guys. Maybe we'll do something. I'll come up with
best Christmas game of all time.
Yeah, might just be fun to do like a podcast about the year. You know, talk about stuff that we played or hated throughout 2022. Honestly, like I was trying to think back to it. Not maybe we just save this if we do it, but really like nothing fucking came out this year. Like COVID, like we're still not past that lull. I feel like where games came out, but yeah. All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll post this. You can watch the full VOD on YouTube, or tomorrow-ish I'll get it posted on like podcast platforms if you want to listen there. And yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.